Good morning. This is Dr. George. This is Citizens Going Wild. And I am in a jolly mood because I think things are going well for people like myself who dislike the progressives. And I especially don't like the attitude of, let us say, the leftists, the progressives, the professors who run things in our universities, because basically they don't like me. They have decided that white people are evil, the United States is evil, and Western civilization is evil. But things are about to change. I thought the professors on the left were impregnable, but things are starting to change a lot. First of all, the reason the progressives can hold views that are outrageous and that outrage the people who pay for them, that is the taxpayers, is because they have tenure, which is pretty much an ironclad guarantee of employment. So you really can't get rid of them. But that's changing. We have entire states now, Georgia and Idaho, which are in the process of getting rid of tenure. And we have another state, Hawaii, which is getting rid of tenure to some degree. This changes everything. This means that if you should get a reasonable, sane, good-hearted person in charge of a university, they could get rid of the people like the professor at Rutgers who goes around the country saying that Jews are stealing body parts from Muslims. An outrageous libel, called a blood libel, by the way, and it has resulted in the flowing of a lot of Jewish blood. There are other things that are happening here. The belief system is being questioned in other places. Let's see, in Virginia, of all places, Virginia has an interesting election going on. And Terry McAuliffe is running for office. He's been in office before and actually did a pretty good job. But he's been in office and he looked like a shoo-in against the Republican, a guy named Youngkin. But he's not a shoo-in anymore. He may win, he may pull this out, but he may not. What's the problem? The problem is that McAuliffe spoke the truth in public. He said, for example, that he didn't think the parents had any right to influence what was being taught to the children. He also he has been accused of teaching critical race theory. Now, there's a lot of controversy about critical race theory, and I'll talk more about it. But basic critical race theory says that America is an irredeemably racist country, and that only Black people are not racist. This idea has been floating around for a long time in our universities and on media as well, especially on the cable channels. And a lot of people like myself don't like it at all. First of all, it's a lie. And America has made great stride against racism. I believe it is the least racist country in the world. It's not number 1, 2, 3, whatever. And to continue to slander white people is very, very annoying and painful. Here's an article that says that Terry McAuliffe stumbling gubernatorial campaign is gift wrapped the GOP a winning issue. And the issue is whether parents should have any influence in the curriculum. The curriculum is getting more and more hostile toward the people who are the parents in this country. The curriculum of both the college and the university and K through 12 have picked up this attitude that there's something just terrible and evil about the United States of America, about Western civilization, and in particular white men, and for some damn reason, Israel as well. And this is a time when they apparently have revolted and are fighting back. And Terry McAuliffe might be losing this election. Even if he wins by a tiny bit, this is an earthquake. This is big because it gives the Republicans something to say. Let's face it, the Republicans haven't come up with an idea for specific programs like something that deals with medical care in a long, long time. So they found it difficult to fight back against the lies and slanders that have been foisted on the United States in K through 12 and in colleges and universities throughout the land. This is just like an earthquake if you are interested in things such as this. Now, so far, the university professors have been like the voice of God, because everyone who will become a newscaster, a lawyer, a doctor, a political commentator, first goes through the universities where they pick up negative views of the United States, Western civilization, white people, men, and for some darn reason, Israel as well. So if we can get a place, a seat at the academic table, it will change everything. It will change everything in terms of attitude toward this country, in terms of attitude toward men, in terms of attitude toward Jews. This will change everything. And I hope that McAuliffe wins. Let's all watch tonight and see if he, I hope McAuliffe loses terribly and Youngin wins. This will make a big, big difference. Even if McAuliffe wins, it still will make a big difference because he was supposed to win in a landslide, and I doubt if he will. Now, that was heavy duty. So I'll tell the following story. Ever since I was a child, I've always had a fear of someone under my bed at night. So I went to a shrink and told him, I've got problems. Every time I go to bed, I think there's someone under it. I'm scared. I think I'm going crazy. Just put yourself in my hands for 1 year, said the shrink. Come talk to me 3 times a week and we should be able to get rid of those fears. How much do you charge? $150 per visit, replied the doctor. I'll sleep in it, I said. 6 months later, the doctor met me on the street. Why didn't you come to see me about those fears you were having? Well, $150 a visit 3 times a week for a year is $23,400. A bartender cured me for $10. I was so happy to save all that money that I went and bought a used pickup truck. Is that so? With a bit of an attitude, he said, and how, may I ask, did the bartender cure you? He told me to cut the legs off the bed. Ain't nobody under there now. That's not a bad little story. According to the Associated Press News, critical race theory, which is what they're fighting over in Virginia, centers on the idea that racism is systemic. That means it's everywhere in this nation's institutions, and that they function to maintain the dominance of white people. White people are racist, and they believe racism is everywhere, and the goal of racism is to keep the dominance of white people. They teach in K through 12, and certainly with additional emphasis in colleges, that white people are inherently evil. That is, it's built in. You can't get rid of it, or at least you can't get rid of it easily. White people are inherently evil, and Black children are forever victims. I doubt if most parents like this idea at all. Okay. Now, here's something else. You might say, well, it's locked into the college and universities, but surely it won't be taught in K through 12. Well, it is to some degree already being taught, and more will be taught. The largest teachers union in the country has approved a plan to teach critical race theory in all 50 states and in every single district. They have approved funding for increasing the implementation of CRT, critical race theory, in K through 12, and to fight anyone who opposes this. This matters a lot. But it may not be working if Terry McAuliffe loses the election. People may say, wait a second, we have to stop this. People are turning away from this. Now, the critics of CRT claim that the teaching is divisive. They say it teaches white students to feel guilty about the past and ashamed of themselves, that it reinforces racism, this time against white people, when all along most Americans, including myself and probably you, thought the idea was to get rid of all racism, period, not to just switch who we demonize. It basically, CRT teaches students of color to demonize white peers. That is a stupid idea here. And they basically want the students to learn that they are bad people if they are white. And the only way to be a good person is to be Black. Now, Terry, fortunately, is a convenient villain and seems to be pretty stupid and extremely dense on this area. Instead of apologizing and saying he was sorry, he keeps going on. He says that when they talk about critical race theory, it's a dog whistle used to waste time and create division. A dog whistle is something that the dog can hear and you can't hear. They're saying that we're sort of disguising our views about race a little bit, but in the end, we are racist, and that message comes through. Now, one county that's very important in the United States, and you'll hear more about, is Loudoun County, which is in Virginia. And it has some of the best schools, K through 12 in the nation. They have spent, this is your money, Bubby, hundreds of thousands of tax dollars on critical race theory. Much of the cash has gone to the Equity Collaborative, a group that seeks to expose and eliminate the dominant male, white, heterosexual ideology and teaches tenets like whiteness as property and the permanence of racism. We're paying for this, folks. You're paying for it. I'm paying for it. Now, one contract for work, including coaching support for Loudoun County leaders focused on critical race theory development. This is nice work if you can get it. They charge $625 an hour. $625 an hour, man. This is not a bad way to go. They had another contract for 6 remote lessons for a high school principal at a cost of $24,000. Someone is making a lot of money in this country, and it ain't me. And Ming is probably not you either. This mania, this idea that you can be whatever you want to be, that if you think you're a woman, you're a woman. If you think you're a man, you're a man, is also spreading out here. And there's a whole new vocabulary that is absurd, and yet it goes on and on and on. It's what they're spending time on in the schools that you pay for, Bubby. Here's one. You can be called, instead of he or him or his, you can be called all of these. He, him, his. These are choices. She, her, hers, they, them, theirs, or even z, zim, z, zim. Those are real and they're in use. And that is what your child is learning at school instead of math or the location of France. Permanent pronouns, that is, you choose what you want to be called, are now a firm fixture in the academic workplace. They're gender neutral bathrooms, men playing women's sports, gender identity questions, admissions applications, entire gender studies departments are now dominant. And you fool, and me fool, are paying for this. At Rutgers University, the largest undergraduate major, I believe, is gender studies. Here's one summary of this situation. Today, we are inundated with examples of people believing, or at least claiming to believe, what no one ever believed before. There's the belief, prominent in academia, that a man who identifies as a woman must be allowed access to facilities which have always been reserved for women and girls. There's the belief that a man can have a wife who's a man. We are told we must stop designating a newborn as either male or female. Knock it off out there in the suburbs. The child must be allowed to discover which of these ever-increasing number of genders it identifies with. Last time I looked, there were about 67 of them. Well, choice is good. The basic idea is that racism, sexism, any bad ism is at the heart of America. That is what we have been about. And it has infiltrated the entire elite media. Here's a page from the New York Times book section, and it has a book called The History of Black Lives Matter. Call and response. I'm not sure what that means, but there it is. And so you have this business going on in spite of what you want. The only way we're going to get rid of it is if we elect people who are in a position to get rid of it. That's why Virginia counts, because this is one of the first time that an election will attack the issue of the identity of America as an evildoer and of white people as irredeemably racist. I think I'm going to stop now. Keep an eye on this. Watch the election results tonight, and we'll see. We'll see what's happening out there. The people in academia have been foisting these stupid ideas. I mean, these ridiculous idea that you are what you call yourself. That this is a racist country, that is a sexist country, that is an evil country. They can put those ideas to rest, or at least we can stop paying for people to say these. They can say it in private, but they can stop propagandizing our children. That by itself would be a good thing.